All right, we are back at it once again. This is episode 19. I'm joined by my Team Flex teammate and my honorary Y&H Cup Series teammate. He's been racing with us lately. The Green Machine himself, the number 94, Bobby Hall, and the HMFIC Jason Collins, as always. And going to change it up a little bit this week to make sure our sponsors are getting their money's worth. Since everyone doesn't make it to the end of the podcast every time, I'm going to hit them up at the beginning. So shouts out to the Kinder Performance Group, John Kinder, Huffman Designs, Alex Huffman, Scott Fritz Designs, Scott old Scoot Fruits, of course, Butt Kicker, doing their thing, shaking your butt, Red Rocket Buildings and Barbecue. As I always say, I love barbecue and I love buildings. I like living inside of one. Elevated Outdoors, and last and certainly not least, WJM. So let's jump right into it. All right, we're going to get right into recapping last week. Last episode was, we did that right after the truck race, so we covered that with Mr. Mikey Neal and Dustin Reinstedel. We appreciate those guys joining us. So we're going to jump right into the Xfinity results from Charlotte. James Silvers came out on top, which I think that's 3 out of the last 4, correct?
2 in a row, 3 out of the last 4.
Yep, 3 out of the last 4. He led 31 laps. He's able to hold off Jim Ott there at the end. Jim led 20 laps. Third place was Tony Iverson, who we were hoping was going to join us tonight, but we're going to get him on here sooner or later. Real nice run for Tony. My boy Blake Hensley rolling in P4. Kyle Mace, P5. Jason Arison, who the F is Jason Arison, coming in P6. Bobby Mays / Mace coming P7. Matthew Campbell P8. Justin Ray P9. And my favorite, I won't say the fan favorite, but the Alex favorite, Michael Robinson, coming home in P10 after getting his Cup Series victory last week.
Yep.
Looked like this one, I know it lately seems like Xfinity has been having some trouble, but 6 cautions, 25 caution laps, not awful. I didn't watch this race, but maybe have a little more insight in that.
First stage, we had was one incident. We had one incident for the first 60 laps, and then right after the stage, it just turned into caution after caution. Like it was like we had it's a spree of like cautions there towards the right after the stage started. It's like, cautions breed cautions. That's what everybody says, and it's the truth. They do, because we had a caution, and then bam, we had another caution, and then another one. So we had like 3 or 4 right there, right back to back after the stage, which was unfortunate. I had really, really high hopes for those guys with that race, with it being a 1.5 miles, especially. I thought, these guys they'll be able to run here and no issues. Well, unfortunately, we had several issues there. It wasn't I wouldn't say it was a shit show or a crap show or anything like that. But it definitely could have been better for a lot of reasons. I ended up having to remove Jeremiah Hobbs. He ended up causing two cautions back to back. He had just gotten charged with 1 caution. Comes out right after he gets sent to the rear, trying to drive through the field, runs somebody over right after. And it's just like, really, dude? Really? Like, you just got charged with a caution. I just said, put you to the rear, and you're going to come up and you're going to run somebody over. Like, why? Like, it didn't make any sense. It was almost, and it almost seemed like he was just pissed off and did it intentionally, because I don't know. I guess he didn't feel like he should have been blamed for the first caution. But what happened was he ran somebody over going into turn 1. The guy got loose, caused a checkup behind him, and then the guy behind them got ran over, and wrecked, and that's what brought the yellow out. So, but he's the one that initiated the contact with the guy in front of him and started the wreck, started the whole thing. If he doesn't make contact and get that guy in front of him sideways, which causes the guys behind him to check up, then there's no caution. So, and then, like I said, immediately after going to the rear, coming up, instead of biding his time and just waiting and getting around the guy, there was a slow car on the high side. He just runs right into the dude and turns him. Like, what
That
the hell, man? What are you doing?
I actually I talked about this when I was watching the real life Cup race today. There are times when I can't remember who got a caution today, but they ended up at the back of the pack and they were very fast. And I said to who I was watching the race with, like, if in iRacing, I've been that guy before when you're way faster and you're back there racing around with slow people and you feel like you have to pass 20 cars in one lap to get where you think you deserve to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to rein that stuff in, and it can be difficult when you're at a track like Charlotte where you can't make up, 5, 10, 15 spots in a short amount of time. You got to really be methodical about it, or else you're going to beat your car up on the way, or in this instance, you're going to be out of the race because you're too aggressive.
2 cautions. I mean, I told them beforehand, 2 cautions and I'm parking you. That's just the way it's going to be from here on out. Like, it's not. They couldn't clean it up on their own. The drivers continue to drive aggressively and continue to bring cautions out. So, I told them, 2, and I'm parking you guys. You bring 2 yellows out and I'm parking you. So he got charged with 2 yellows and I removed him.
That's the way it has to be at this certain point in time, and I know I think Ron was real frustrated with that in the Truck Series. I guess 2 weeks ago, or
It was IRP.
I guess
it was last week.
IRP. Yeah,
and I rightfully understand what he's saying, like a self spin and then a little bit of a net code issue, because even though he hit Gary, he didn't hit him hard enough for it to do what it did, and I get that. I understand what he's saying, and he was like, he understood why he got parked, but he didn't necessarily agree with it, and I get that. But at the end of the day, the drivers have forced my hand on this. The drivers have brought us to the point where we're at, where I have to be more strict and harder on everybody and say, all right, look, you guys can't police yourselves. I've got to do it for you. So Radburn looked like to be the guy to beat again. Led 56 laps, most of all drivers. Hackney had a good run up front. Hackney led 36 laps. Both of those guys just didn't the fuel. I guess their strategy. They were on the wrong fuel strategy. I think I know what happened. Alex Penn told me he messed up their strategy. Yes. Alex took the blame for that. That's the crew chief for the Cornerstone Motorsports guys. Unfortunately, Alex was the reason that they didn't do well. Was that the Cup race? Was that? I can't remember. I don't know what happened to because Silvers was up front. Silvers won. I don't remember what happened to Radburn and Hackney.
Yeah, it might have been because I know Alex was telling us about it the other night, which I'm not sure if it was Cup or Xfinity, but he was thinking they had a different number of sets of tires.
It was Cup. Yep, never mind. Okay. It was Cup. But okay. So, I don't know what happened to Hackney and Radburn, but they ended up being towards the back, 14th and 15th. After that, Matt Grenier, he ran the race Tuesday also. Had a P13 coming down from the Cup Series. Well, actually, no, Matt's a full-time. He bought an Xfinity charter, so he's a full-time Xfinity driver now also.
Look at him.
He'll be running Xfinity next season too.
Nice.
Adam Lancaster was P12. Greg Carr coming in with a P11. So a bunch of different names up front, obviously. Tony, like you said, had a really good run. I actually thought Tony had the strategy to win. He pitted just a little too late and didn't have the time to make it up, which lap cars and traffic didn't help. There was definitely some guys slowing him down. I mean, it was obvious, and I'm just, not calling anybody out, but you could clearly tell that there were some teammates that were helping out, helping slow him down.
We wouldn't know anything about that now, would we, Bobby? We've never done such a thing.
Right.
I also had to park Tyler Evans. He had a lot of damage. He got caught up in another wreck earlier in the race and had a lot of damage. And then Bridges was coming up on him, and Bridges was having a good run. Bridges and Lancaster were coming up on him, and Bridges was on the top side and Lancaster was on the inside. And Bridges had the momentum, and he got up to Tyler, and Tyler ended up coming down the track as Bridges was going to go to the inside and pass him. Ended up causing a big wreck. So I ended up having to park Tyler, and he understood. He apologized, and I said, well, lap cars, why are we waiting till the drive? Why are we not holding our line? And he's like, man, I didn't realize they were that close, and et cetera, et cetera. And I understand what he's saying, but we're at week 11, man. Like that's some stuff you gotta know. You've got to, like, whether it's, you can tell in the mirror, or if you're looking at the relative, you've got to realize you have to hold your line and let those guys get around you, or just get down on the bottom, and get out of the way early, and don't wait until they're right on top of you. Like,
yep.
While, like I said, we're in week 11, just something that shouldn't happen. So,
yeah, that's kind of like we touched on that stuff last week. Some of these real basic things, just track spatial awareness, ARCA braking kind of stuff. Like we should be past all of that. And
situational awareness, it should be very something you should have a lot of by now.
Yeah, well, that's something you learn when you're running street stocks and ARCA and that stuff, and earning your way through the licenses. That's what those classes are for. But it does seem like things have taken a step in the right direction as far as the cleanliness of our races, some of the craftsmanship, that kind of thing. So on that note, we can jump up to the Cup Series, so we can finally get some Bobby input here, because I know he's like me. We don't get to necessarily watch the Xfinity races on Tuesdays, but moving up to Cup, special shout out to Mikey Neal, who won the race. And not only did he win the race, he called his shot on the podcast last week, which is apparently the second time he has done that on the podcast, according to him. I don't recall the first time, but I don't think Mikey's just going to make that one up. So
no, he wouldn't.
If he comes on here again, he can't pick himself. It's against the rules now. I'm not having it. I ain't trying to hear it. John Schwartz was P2 in the 95 car. Brandon Holder had a good run, P3. John Kinder in P4. Brandon Robertson, P5. Frankie Barroso, P6. My teammate, Matt Grenier, P7. Jonathan Atkins, P8. Keith Hackney finished a race and finished P9. and our resident pizza fanatic / loudmouth, Mike Peters, brought her home in P10.
Yep. I want to say that race between Kinder and Robertson at the end, wow, some of the best racing I've seen in the Cup Series this season. This is the best race we've had in the Cup season, also Cup Series all season.
Yep, it was. I wish I could have been in the mix more. I opted early to go for a very aggressive fuel strategy that absolutely did not play at all. I was able to one stop the first stage, but I was so slow that it took me out of contention. And Bobby, you ended up one spot ahead of me. I don't recall what put you back there with me.
Yeah, it was just bad pit cycles and being so far behind and getting lapped, and it was definitely a lot of competition compared to the truck guys for somebody not as experienced in a Cup car. Looking at the results, I mean, there was only 11 guys on a lead lap. I mean,
yep, and part of that was there's only 3 cautions, which one of those is a stage, so. Yep. Not a lot of time to get our laps back, unfortunately.
I think that's wrong. I think there was 4 cautions, including the stage.
Okay.
So I'm not sure why it says 3, but I had 4 cautions wrote down on the spreadsheet, one being the stage. But still, regardless, 3 cautions is fucking.
Yeah.
Whoop. I used it.
Yeah.
I used your F-bomb. 3 cautions is pretty good, you know.
You had 15 different leaders in that race too.
Maybe it was
so
only 2. Hold on, maybe it was only 2 cautions actually. I thought we had 4 or total.
Yeah.
4 total. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. Which one way or the other, it was a very clean race, and there was a lot of different strategies unfolding, and which I think that's part of the reason why we had so many leaders. And hell, even I led 2 laps thanks to my goofy strategy. Rocky Boyd led 18, and he ended up finishing 86 laps down. I don't remember.
He got loose off of 4.
Early.
He got loose off 4 going through the tri-oval, and when he hit the wall, he said his stuff just shut down. His wheel, pedals, all that just shut off, and then he just parked it after that. Came up and apologized.
Our good buddy Brian Terry led him a lap in there. We had Dave Farmer led 1, Nick Mills led 2, Jason led 2, Jason Bridges, Roger Pierce led 15, Tony Iverson 11, Mike Peters led 13, Jonathan Atkins led 40, Matt
good.
Grenier led 8, Frankie Barroso 2, Brandon Robertson 1, Schwartz 12, and then obviously Mikey. I don't want to say he dominated, but he led 72 laps, which is pretty dominant. But just with all the different strategies,
I mean, straight up, if you go back and watch the race, Mikey had that shit won. After the stage break, it was just all Mikey. I will say though that the syndicate finished 1, 2, 3. That's pretty impressive. Mikey, John, and Brandon are all teammates. They're all part of the syndicate, which is a Brian Terry owned team. Their 4th man that normally runs with them, Alex Huffman, he was tied up with some work stuff again, apparently, up in Indiana. Couldn't make it down in time.
We've been missing Huffy. That's what, 3 races in a row now?
2 races he's missed, so.
Yeah, he better be back this week. He said he wanted to see some clean racing, and by God, I think we gave it to him.
Oh, yeah. That, like I said, that was by far the best race we've had all year. In the Cup Series. Unfortunately, I hate it that Curtis Preston left, because if he would have been part of that race, I think he would have enjoyed it. I think he would have been really impressed and really happy with that race because it was really clean. Maybe he'll come back. I mean, he's still locked in. He technically, yep. I think he can miss like one more race and still be locked in. So yeah. He might come back, might not. I don't know. We'll see. I know he's not in the Discord anymore, so he's probably not even listening to these podcasts. Well, actually, he can miss 2 more races. He just missed the last 2, like Huffman has. But both of those guys dropped 5 points or 5 positions in the standings. Like Curtis was in second in the standings last week or the week before when he initially quit and dropped out, and so was Huffman. They were top 4. Both of them were top 4 in the standings, and 2 races have dropped them well outside of the top 4. So now they need to. Huffman needs to come back in and run, or he's going to be knocked out of the top 16 if he doesn't start racing again. So,
yep. I was going to point out, when you look at like 12th through 20th, really, I mean, there's a lot of talent, right? A lot of guys that are probably worthy of playoff spots if things go the right way. So it's these last last few races of the regular season are going to be very interesting, especially once you factor in there's a few guys on the outside of points that have wins that are it's going to get tight. You got guys back there like you said, Curtis and Huffy, if and when they come back. My teammates Brandon and Dave are 13 and 14. Kostritza is a talented driver. He's sitting 15th, and then you get back to the high side guys. It's Bridges, Iverson, and Twitty, 16, 17, 18. Then myself and Roger Pierce, 19th and 20th, and even Dustin Reinstettle's 21st. Frankie Barroso is 23rd, which I don't think Frankie's run a ton of races. But regardless, a lot of talented drivers back there that if things go right, it could really shake things up.
So Dave Farmer is in the hot seat right now because right now 16th, 15th, and 14th are all out because you've got Peters, Justin Winters and Rocky Boyd all have wins that are inside the top 30. RS Center doesn't qualify because he missed too many races prior.
Yeah. But you also think if Curtis doesn't come back, that'll open up one additional spot.
Oh, yeah, that's true. If Curtis doesn't come back and keeps dropping, then that's going to open up. It'll be 14th. Roberts will be on the hot seat.
Yeah, but that's if ifs and buts are candy and nuts, then we'd all be in the playoffs. But we'll see how she goes. I think it'll be really interesting to see who's on the bubble and how hard they're going to have to push here at the end of the regular season. Myself
absolutely.
included.
Yeah. Well, you look at the cutoff right now. Let's just assume Robertson is the cutoff because Preston's out. Let's just consider because he says he's done. So I don't foresee him coming back. So Robertson's a cutoff at 374. Your next guy is Kostritza at 359. Then Bridges 356. Iverson 341. Twitty 338. Healy 331. Pierce 326. The points are not that. It's not a lot of difference, especially when you've got 30 cars showing up every single week. You've got that many drivers coming up. That's the potential to make up points, 100%. You've got a really good opportunity for some road course guys to make up. I look for Frankie Barroso to be very good Wednesday at Watkins Glen. Yep. Frankie is a talented road racer. John Schwartz is going to be really good. Mikey should be good. Keith, I don't know. He's had a up and down season. Kinder's pretty much always even keel. Go ahead.
Which don't forget, remember this race last season, who was out front the entire time until he got wrecked.
Farmer, yeah.
David Farmer.
and this could be his, he does have to start in the back. But
that's what makes it difficult.
If he can make up spots and keep his car clean in the first stage, I think he'll be fine. Yep. I think he may not be able to pull out a win, but he can still have a good finish and get some points. Robertson, Brandon's going to be tough here. He's always good at road courses. Bridges could have a good run. Any of those guys in that, like you said, like 14th, 12th to 20th region have an opportunity and a chance to work their way in still. I know, let's see, Rocky can only miss one more race. Justin can only miss one more race. And Peyton Hubbard can only miss one more race. So if those guys miss another race, then their automatic bid is kaput. So, well, actually, I'll take that back. They can miss one more and still be in. But if they miss more than one more race, if they miss two more races, then they're out.
Yeah. Which just another layer of excitement on all this stuff. Which, with all that said, we're talking about Watkins Glen, so I think we can do a little preview, talk about our picks, that kind of stuff. So we could talk about the truck guys. So I know that's Bobby's main focus, mine as well. I know me and Bobby ran a practice together the other day. I think that you were in as well, Jason, and then we ran the Lotus 49s around there. But Bobby's been flying.
Yeah, Bobby's looking good at Watkins Glen. You can tell you've put some practice in.
Oh yeah, it's just ever since I did the new rescan of the track, it just seems to drive different.
It does.
And before, to me, it seemed like you'd always get a lot of tail slide under braking, but now it seems to be locking up the front tires.
Yep.
So just a matter of where you're going to put a brake at when you come race time.
I 100% agree. I feel like the new scan is definitely different. It doesn't drive the same as it did before. So it was completely, like, for me, all my muscle memory is in my braking points and everything were all different, which took me a while, but I finally was able to get the hang of it. And I, was running I think I was running pretty good last night in the trucks.
Dude, you were okay, I guess.
I mean, you couldn't get around me, Healy.
Guy.
Shit, I was faster than you.
You couldn't get. No, you wasn't, and you couldn't get around me.
Oh no, that's right. I was hammered last night. I was thinking about the other night when I did practice with Bobby.
You beat me in the Lotuses. I will give you that. You kicked my ass in the Lotuses.
Yeah, but then I was the fastest for a little bit, and then Bobby teed off on us, and I think he knocked like 7 cents off of me.
Y'all were fast in the Lotuses, man. I will say, y'all kicked my ass in that shit. So
those pretty things. Fun. Those things are fun, and like you said, it helps with throttle control, and for me, it helped with brake control because if you apply too much brake in those things, they'll just come around no matter what.
Yep.
Which is probably partly me not knowing how to set one of them up or anything. But regardless, it's still a good and fun teacher, and I hope have some more people join us in those things because they're fun to wheel around there.
And shout out to Brendan Robertson for turning this on to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Which, as far as the truck race goes, I mean, just based on what I've seen, I'd be hard pressed to say anyone's going to beat this man. He's just absolutely been flying in every practice session I've been in with him. I know we're going to have several guys that are going to be in contention. You're going to have the usual suspects. I expect Jonah to be good. Wes is good. Wes and Peyton, everybody up top in points. I mean, I don't think until you get down into the 10th on back, some guys that just don't like road courses, which I know that we have some people like that. But even going back that far, I know Cody's been putting in a bunch of practice. Dan was practicing with us. It's going to be an interesting one. I think pitch strategy is going to play a role, and I know that there's probably going to be someone that gets ass packed in the bus stop at some point or something.
Lap one, somebody's going to get wrecked. Just wait for it.
Yeah, that's
I'm sure it's coming in turn one, and that's unfortunate because these guys should know by now. Yeah. That's why last night I was trying to get everybody to practice the starts. That's why we were doing the slow pacing and all that crap. I wanted those guys to get some experience, and obviously there was some, I don't even know what, clowning around going on, and people were wrecking people while we were trying to get to the start zone and all that. And eventually, I was like, okay, it's about enough, because I was honestly, I felt like we're wasting time here. We're trying to help everyone learn something. It's knowledge that you can take into the race, and it's fine for a little bit to clown around and all that. I get it. Everybody wants to have fun and cut up. But at some point or another, it was just like, all right, enough is enough. We need to get down to business and try to turn some laps. And a couple of guys, I guess, didn't like the fact that I was like, we need to chill out and stop, because they ended up leaving after that. But the whole point of that was to help those guys realize, okay, going into turn one, this is what it's going to be like. This, and it's guys that I feel like need that practice and need that pack running. They need to be able, because what's going to happen is they're going to get into a race, they're going to follow guys that are faster than them, and they're going to miss braking points. They're going to overdrive corners. They're going to loop it, going through the S's, trying to keep up with these guys because they haven't practiced the pace and the speed that those guys run out. You can run around laps by yourself all day long, but it changes the minute you get into a pack of guys and you start trying to drive those things on cold tires and stuff like that.
And going around a road course, it's different, where there are turns where you just have to wave the white flag, and a guy's gonna have the better line than you. There's not necessarily like, oh, I can drive around him on the outside and I can carry speed like it's an oval there. If someone gets to your inside on turn one, like you're giving that position up unless something horrific happens to them on exit or something. It's road racing. There's a lot more give and take, I think.
A lot of etiquette in road racing.
Yeah,
a lot more etiquette, I think.
Yeah, like if you're at an oval, there can be guys that are ripping the top, making the time. There can be guys rim running around the bottom that are making time. On a road course, there's really one preferred line, and when you're side by side with someone, you don't get to run the preferred line necessarily. You gotta give room. You've got to account for, if there's a guy on the inside, his braking zone's going to be different than yours. And if you try to come across, there's a whole lot more that you have to account for, because if you bump a guy on a road course, like, you're probably both going around, and there's no caution to save your life. You're going to the back.
Yep.
Especially if the guy gets the run on you and he's to your quarter panel, just lift and give it to him because he's gonna break it in there. That's why he's there.
Yep. And that's like you were talking about in turn 1 and 2. That's like a fear for someone like Bobby, who I expect to be starting, first, second, third at worst or something based on the practice I've seen. And you get someone behind him who maybe hasn't been doing practices with us, and we take off on the start, and Bobby knows exactly what he's going to do. And then that person tries to follow his braking zone and braking line
and his pace, because his pace is up there, guys. Like when I say it, he's fast. He's freaking fast.
Yeah. And you have someone that tries to follow him that, depending on how qualifying goes, I don't know how tight it'll be. I mean, for all I know, the guys in the third row could be a half second off of someone like Bobby, or if we've got someone else that's super fast. And a half second, like your braking zones are obviously way different, and your prowess on that track is not at that same level. And it happens on ovals where we've all done it, where you follow someone into a turn and they're going too fast and you drive it right up into the wall with them. You do that shit on a road course and you guys are going for a ride. And that's the tricky part.
I will say that you have to race the track, not the guys around you. A lot of times the guys will just do like exactly what you said. They'll try to follow the guy in front of them, and they'll be so focused and locked in on the guy in front of them, they'll miss their own braking points. So you've got to be aware. That's where that situational awareness comes in. You've got to know where you're at on the track. You got to know, okay, I'm coming up here. I need to brake. All right, I need to brake a little early here. He's driving it in super hard because I'm behind him, because I'm pushing him. Oh, he overdrove the corner. I hit my perfect braking point. I hit the braking point perfectly. So I get to go around this guy now because I was paying attention.
Yep. And then on the flip side of it, if you're chasing down a guy that's maybe backing up his corners and getting big drives off, it's your job to know to pay attention to what the guy in front of you is doing. If he's backing up his braking zones, 20 meters before yours are, you can't just expect to be able to do what you do every time when you're by yourself on the track. You've got to react and overcome what's happening in front of you. You can't just drive through the guy, and if you dive bomb it in there, you're probably going to get killed on exit, or you're going to kill somebody else in the process.
Absolutely.
Yep. True that.
Which as far as Xfinity guys go, and me and Bobby are obviously a little less well versed here, but I know we've got a bunch of talent.
Before we jump over to Xfinity, I do want to make a quick point. I would like to say Peyton Hubbard has been phenomenal in the trucks this season. He has 8 top 5s out of 11 races.
Yeah, I'm about tired of it.
I mean, I realize you guys are competitors with him, but like that's phenomenal, man. Like 8 top 5s out of 11 races. Guys got 3 wins, 2 poles. Jonah Colbert may have more wins, but Peyton is just way out there in points. He's 47 points ahead of Jonah, 63 ahead of Wes, and 65 ahead of Bobby. So y'all got some work cut out for you these next 3 races to get that regular season championship. Those coveted 15 bonus points make a big difference going into round 1. So what are your all's strategies moving forward? I want to hear Bobby first, if you don't mind. I want to hear what he has to say. I know you're potentially looking to win Watkins Glen. So give us your, without giving everything away, obviously, give us your general strategy. What do you think you can do to win on Monday night?
Well, the biggest thing is, like you were talking about, is all about racing the track, and I noticed, going up through the chicanes, if you're behind a guy, the truck will get tight, so guys run third gear, will they run fourth gear, and like I said, with brake adjustments, it's going to change during the course of the racing. So you got to find a happy medium to start with, because you only can adjust a little bit, in the truck.
Yep.
And I mean, my hat's off to Peyton and them guys. I feel bad on my part because I'm not as good as I was last year, but
I think you've had some tough luck.
I get the runs, I get the spots, and just in a bad spot get wrecked. Like Mr. Evans, called me out a couple weeks ago, that green truck. Well, there's 3 green trucks now out there, and he still got me. I'm like, God dang it.
I understand.
We had a pretty tough green truck last week. That wasn't you or me too.
So
we
what's your strategy going into tomorrow, Alex? How do you feel about your chances at Watkins Glen?
I feel like I'm probably a top 10, top 5 kind of guy. I felt really good until I went into practice with Bobby, and I was like, well, this is I I don't have just that one lap pace with him. I'm gonna hopefully kind of let the race come to me. Being this is second road race, which I do really like road racing at Coda. I was in the position that Dave's in the Cup where or I was at Coda where I was starting from the back and I had to really press early on to get up through the field. I won't have to do that this week, so I'm hoping I can start up there towards the front and survive that first lap until we all kind of get on our lines, and then just kind of let the race come to us, hit when I want to pit and everything, and maximize tires. And past that, it's you really just got to see where the cards lay. You got to not overdrive it. You can't if Bobby's flying like I think he is. It makes no sense for me to go like try and be 3 or 4 tenths faster on any specific lap. It's you got to take what the track gives you, one, and two, what you can give the track. And once you get outside of either your ability or what the track will give you, that's when you go flying through the bus stop, or you loop it coming out of the carousel and blow through your braking point into turn one. All of those things are very easy to do there. It's
And you got 36 laps.
Yeah, there's lots of time, and pit strategy is always important at road courses. I'm interested to see if people do what, in my opinion, is the correct thing. Not that I'm the strategy god by any means, but at road courses, I think there's really one very beneficial way to do it, and I'm sure we'll have a bunch of guys do it. But I'm based on Coda, I'm sure we're gonna have a bunch of guys that do some other shit that is sometimes borderline flabbergasting at road courses, and makes things really interesting. So I'll be curious to see how all that plays out. But ultimately, for the rest of the season, as far as strategy, and myself and Bobby and Wes are all in the kind of this same position where we're pretty safe playoff wise. I don't have to go out there and get a win. Bobby doesn't have to either. We'd like to get some bonus playoff points, whether that's where you can maximize and snag a stage somewhere or something like that. But ultimately, it's not having a day where you bin your stuff and you drop 3 spots in points. That'll really hurt you come playoff time. So it's really just keeping it clean and shooting for tops 5s and 10s. And if the opportunity presents itself to get a win, obviously that's what we're all here for. But just kind of looking at the long view of everything and positioning ourselves come playoff time to be able to get aggressive then and hopefully advance rounds. And I think we'd like to see a team flex, a playoff bracket for the most part. So we'll see what it looks like when we get there.
I know we did picks last week for Watkins Glen. I just don't remember who we picked.
I do. I picked Cody Anderson.
Cody Anderson. You want to give Bobby a chance to have a pick also?
Let's see if this man calls his own number. That's what I'd be doing.
No, never do that. No, I like to look through the field and give people that I've seen get better, and I think we'll have a good shot. So I think Lucas Lyons, in a couple practices, he was consistent with lap times going on his screen and looking at everything. So that's my shout out. Cause that he was running my number too.
Yeah, that may have been helping him. That was probably helping him in the practice. Who did I pick last week? Do you remember?
I don't. I want to say Peyton, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't remember.
I would almost feels like something you would have said, but
I don't know. I would at this point I'd probably pick Bobby though if I had the chance, because he's freaking flying around that track. He's fast. Yeah. I'm telling you guys, look out for the dude.
It doesn't matter what he's in because we got out there in Lotus 49s, and that's what was really impressive is that he's gotten those, and then within a few laps he was faster than both of us too.
Yep.
We'll do another race, right?
Yes.
That, and also though too is depends on how many upperclassmen are going to come down.
That's true. Yeah,
I've not heard anybody as of right now. That doesn't mean that they won't tell me tomorrow that they're going to, but I've not heard of anybody at the moment. But let's go ahead and do some Xfinity, I guess. Let's see what we got over here. Looking ahead, I'm going to say Radburn is looking like the guy to beat again after watching him practice. Dude ran a 1:12.6 something. He's freaking. Yeah. He's got the hot lap crap figured out. He's got that. He's very tough. On the poles, let's see how many poles he's got this season. Yep, 7 poles, so he's like right up there with Zach Nichols and myself as far as poles.
Yeah. Which the other part of that, because I'm like you, I feel like he's due, but is this one of those where it's starting to get in his head that he doesn't have a win, and he probably feels that he should? And does that is he overdriving it at times, feeling like he needs to get that monkey off his back?
I definitely think that he's got a monkey on his back and he's worried about it.
Yeah, but man, as far as picks, it's.
We don't have to do picks right this second. We have a little bit more we can talk about going into it. Silvers obviously doesn't have the speed that Radburn had based on the practice that I was just in. He's about 7/10 off still. Mm-hmm. If Radburn gets a clean track, if he gets the pole and gets out front and gets a clean track and can hold on to it, he could potentially walk away with it. But then you've got Hackney. Hackney's going to be really good here. He was really good last season in the trucks here. I'm sure he's put the practice in, and he's not letting nobody know what he's running. So I've not seen his lap times yet. I could probably look him up and tell you in just a second because I can look on iRacing and see who he has hosted races. Yeah. But I would say he's going to be a tough one, and Jim Ott's probably going to be tough. Jim's always good.
I'm not as familiar with the road racing prowess of the Xfinity guys. I know there's a lot of fast guys, but it's hard for me to put a finger on one. I will say for we'll say James in particular, he's got 3 wins on the season. Mm-hmm. If I am in his position and I'm a little off the pace of guys I've been practicing with, and I'm locked in, I've got one focus coming in, and that's
the race.
No, stage points. Go win a stage, Matt. Run whatever strategy will earn you a stage victory, and then figure it out past that. Just finish the race.
I don't think he has the pace to win the stage at Watkins Glen, and that's why I say he needs to just finish the race because what I saw in practice was he was trying to run Radburn's pace and couldn't. He was looping it and wrecking and just. So I think he needs to focus on finishing the race. That's what his strategy needs to be. Maybe get some stage points, because he may be second or third fastest guy. I don't know. I haven't seen the other guys.
Well, I think at road courses, the reason I say that, there's really 2 strategies. One strategy puts you in position to win a race, and that's the strategy that I'll employ on Monday. But if you throw that to the wind and try to maximize your stage, I think there's a chance for someone that really doesn't have pace at all to put themselves in position, if they can keep their car clean, to claim some stage points while other guys are focusing on winning the race.
So I'm assuming, I don't know, but I'm guessing probably for the guys that don't have hot lap and pole position speed, they're going to probably pit early before the stage, take tires, run easy on those tires, let the stage come out, stay out, and then I guess, I don't know, but is that really the best strategy though? Because if there's a guy that's running 1:12.6s and that's freaking fast in Xfinity, Is it
Yep.
possible for those guys, like, how are they going to stop him when he's on two lap pressure tires? He's going to be coming through the field. Only
Yep.
thing you can really hope for is that a bunch of guys stay out and he's way back in the pack at that point and gets into an altercation incident with somebody. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm throwing it to you, I guess, on what do you think is a strategy
So
for the
at
Xfinity guys?
yeah. So it's really any road course because lap times are so long. I think there are two strategies. There's either you're going to pit at the stage or you're going to pit before the stage.
Mm.
I think if you're pitting at the stage, you are shooting for a stage win, stage points. If you pit before the stage, you're setting yourself up on the long run to be out front towards the end of the race. That's what I've been alluding to, and not that this is like some big secret strategy. You watch any NASCAR road race, and that's how it always plays out, one way or the other. So if someone can maximize speed in the first stage, whatever, if that's pitting at lap 5 or something to be on fresh tires the whole time and running it all the way to the stage, something like that, maybe so. And again, it all depends on the gap between who's super fast and who's kind of fast.
So Xfinity runs 40 laps and the stage is 16. How would you strategize for that with because that's different than the trucks? Obviously, it's 12 and 36. But how would you strategize for a 40 lap race with a stage of 16? Because I don't even know if you can make it 16 laps in Xfinity cars.
Yeah, it all depends on the fuel window. I'm assuming you can't, which that really changes things. Assuming if you could make it to the stage, if I wanted to win the race, I'm going to pit at the beginning of lap 14, basically right before you close the pits.
Right.
And then I'm going to come out and I'm going to be easy on the tires. I'm going to stay out at the stage, and all the guys that pit at the stage, I'm going to roll right on by them with what should still be good tires, and then basically cut the back half of the race in half. That all depends on fuel.
Won't that also depend on how far back you are from the leader when the yellow is thrown? Because if he's able to get to the pits before you,
if you're half a track back, then that shit goes out the window too. So
that's kind of what another thing I'm worried about is if you're so far back from the leader, do you go ahead and pit and try it, or do you wait and try to make up time on fresh tires at the stage?
Yep. The fuel complicates that, which I haven't. I don't think I ran a fuel run I call it a fuel run. I ran a full tank in the trucks the other night, and I think I went
14 or something.
Something like that, which brings me home in the stage and trucks, but maybe in Xfinity cars, depending.
15, maybe. I'm thinking.
Yeah,
maybe 16 if you slow down a little bit.
Yeah,
but if you're
when your tires wear, you're going to be using less fuel, so maybe it gets you there, but then you still got to make it all the way around one more time.
The pace too, like what you're running under green flag makes a difference. Like, you might be 2 seconds off the leader, and that's saving you fuel. But if you're 10 seconds behind or more at the stage, you're probably not getting caught up. And I don't know. I just think the guys need to practice, but.
And it's especially hard when we hit the stage at road courses, because typically there's a lot of guys that are super close on fuel and they're not flying around the track to catch the pace car. So by the time you get to the pits, guys are they've come and gone, and the pace car is halfway around the track. So
hopefully,
that's another thing.
Hopefully, where we throw the yellow coming out of turn 20, and that lets the pace car come out immediately. Hopefully, that allows everyone time to get caught up, because that'll slow everybody down. The leader won't be so far out, and they'll be flying around the track to catch the pace car. So hopefully that'll help. Who do you guys want to pick for Watkins Glen and Xfinity?
Oh man, this is a tough one. I just based on some stuff I heard earlier when I was just listening in. It sounds like our boy Alex Penn,
Oh,
the
yes.
the resident photographer. I think I'm rolling with the other Alex.
All right, Bobby, who you want to go with?
Just by looking at some stats, I think Mr. Jim Ott sounds good to me.
Yeah, solid pick.
I'm gonna go ahead and go with Radburn on this one because I've seen his pace. Like you said though, Alex Penn could be the guy to beat. From what they were saying, he knows the cambers of the corners and he's supposedly really good. I've not seen him turn any laps yet, but Radburn's wicked fast, man. So if he can keep it on the track and keep the car underneath him, I think he might actually be able to pull one out finally and break that monkey and get that monkey off his back.
Time will tell. It should be an interesting one. This is harder for me to pick, obviously, because I'm not as familiar with the Xfinity guys, but
Right.
we shall see. So let's move on up to these Cup fellas, which Bobby, you're not running this week with us, are you?
Probably not.
That would be interesting to see, though, if you did run up and
Yeah.
try to challenge these guys. I don't know if you've had any time to practice, but you look bad fast in the Lotuses and the trucks, so it would be interesting to see.
Because my Cup sponsor, Mr. Henley, our Dodge Stang crate motor, I don't think it's good for road courses.
Okay, I got you. Right now, Brandon Holder sitting at the top of points due to his finish this past week. He's 1 point ahead of John Schwartz. Both of those guys have had tremendous season already. Five top fives each. GT Hawkins also has 5 top fives through 10 races. Brandon Holder has 10 top 10s through 11 races. Schwartz has 7. So Brandon Holder looking really good this year. He's not got the win yet, but he's a bad dude on road courses.
He's a bad
dude.
Yeah. He absolutely is. Yeah, I know he's fast on road courses. Going on, which Dave is fast. He's got a lot to overcome here. I think Frankie's pretty fast on road courses.
Oh yes.
Yeah. He was super fast at Coda. But then outside of that, like I'm not familiar enough. I don't know if like John, GT, Nick. I don't know how they fare on road courses. To be honest with you,
I think Schwartz is good. I know Schwartz is very good. He does a lot of road racing. He's constantly posting road racing videos. He posted a couple just today and stuff. And Mills, I don't see him doing very well here, to be honest with you. He's not really a road course guy. He was 3 or 4 seconds off of what should be the pace based on what I saw in practice, and I don't know how much he's practiced other than
sounds like I'm going to be faster than Nick then.
Probably. Adkins, I don't really know his road racing prowess. Matt,
yeah,
he's always medium, kind of top 5 to top 10 guy.
He'll be around. He's probably not going to win, but he'll be on the track there turning laps. I guarantee that much.
Yep. He'll be definitely have a shot. Kinder is a surprise, like kind of dark horse guy on the road courses. Like you wouldn't expect him to be good on road courses, but he's really good on road courses. I don't know that he's going to have the winning speed, but he'll definitely be contending top 5, top 10, somewhere in that area. Like I said earlier, Brandon Robertson, Jason Bridges is another one that could potentially come out of nowhere, and Mike Peters might have something.
Yeah, I really don't know about him either.
I don't know.
That's what makes it so tricky with road courses. You can't base anything off what they've done on oval necessarily.
No. I think, I don't remember, but I want to say Peters was pretty good in a practice session I saw at Watkins Glen, maybe. I don't remember. I don't know. Huffman, he's always a solid guy at road courses if he shows up. So
if he's there, he'll be around. I'm
he'll
sure.
be on the he'll be on a top 5, top 10 ish guy. So Silver's, I don't know how he's going to do in the Cup cars. He may be faster than I think in the Cup cars, but I'd probably put him in somewhere around 10th or so.
Yep, that's kind of what I was thinking. Who do we want to go first on this pick?
I'll go.
Yeah, we ought to give Bobby.
Yeah, let our guests go on that.
Because since the points race in this class is pretty tight compared to the other two.
Oh yeah, it's tight.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and go with a possible teammate next year, Mr. Farmer.
Mr. Farmer.
I'd
love to see him do it. I think on pure pace, he has the capability. It's all about managing traffic in that first stage and coming out after the stage with the lead within striking distance. If he can come out after the stage, really in the top 10, he'll have a shot at it. I think. But
so they're going 45 laps and their stage is at 18. So that's a long first stage for them. So it's very, very possible that anything can happen.
That really helps Dave too.
It does. It really
gives
does.
Gives him a lot of time
to make up spots. Yep.
Because when I was in that position at Coda, the stage was at 10. So I said the same thing. I wanted to be in the top 10, but I had to do it in like 8 laps, really, which I was able to, but I accrued damage along the way, which is what I've told him that he needs to not do. And sometimes it's easier said than done, and it's probably easier to do that at Watkins to stay clean versus Coda. I know they're two totally different road. I mean, I know you turn left and right, but that's about where the similarities end.
Watkins is a lot more high speed, whereas Coda is a lot more technical.
Yep. You go ahead.
I'm gonna go with Brandon Holder, man. I think Holder is gonna get it done. He's really good on road courses. I probably should have went with Schwartz, but I think Holder's gonna get his first dub, and I'm gonna be rooting for him. So,
I'm gonna take Schwartz. It was gonna be one of those two. But my dark horse that I'll be looking out for, maybe not necessarily race winning pace, but I think Jason Bridges will have a good run here. I think he might be a top 5 guy.
If he keeps it clean and keeps his damage down, I think you're right. I think he's going to be good.
Yeah, I know he likes to drive the GT3 cars, and I know the Cup car isn't that, but it's in that kind of realm of not a ton of downforce, but it is downforce, and it's got good brakes and big tires, and I think it's something that it seems like it transfers to him, his skill set pretty well.
Yeah. And the points are so tight in the Cup Series that it's like, I know that it's a pretty big gap from 1st to 16th, but if you really think about it, 140 points is all that separates the leaders to 16th place, right? Yep. And then, that top 10 guy or 10th, I guess, is it 10th? 10th to 20th, only like, what is that? I don't even know. 318 to 397, so 80.
Yeah, 80-ish points, give or take. So yeah, I mean, one good race for one guy.
I think is what. Yeah, it should be 79.
A good race for P20 and a bad race for P10, and those. I mean, they can make up that gap in one race, and at a road course, that can certainly happen.
If you can make up, let's say you earn 50 points, that's just with a good stage and a decent finish. For Bridges, that would propel him forward over a lot of those guys that he's in battle with right there. Yeah, and if those guys have a bad race, if they finish, 25th or 30th.
Yeah. And just to pick on Keith a little bit, not saying this will happen, but since he's the 10th place guy, we have seen where he's come out in the first lap or two and looped it, and Alt F4, he's out of here. I don't anticipate that out of him by any stretch, but it has happened. And if that happens, and then like we say, Jason Bridges goes up there and gets some stage points and finishes in the top 5, like they're just like that.
Well, and not to pick on Keith, like you said, I mean, I love Keith to death, man. He's clearly mad at me over that penalty I gave him, though. Like, he's obviously butthurt over that penalty, which is unfortunate because, like I said, it told GT and Farmer it wasn't personal. Like, the penalty was not personal, guys. Don't take the penalties personal. Like, I'm just doing what the rule book allows me to do. I'm trying to clean up the racing.
I'm on this podcast with you every week. I had 4 weeks of probation back to back, like to start out the season damn near. And that's just is what it is. I mean, I earned it. I thought maybe the second one I was like, but that's the decision that was made, and that's it. That's whatever. I don't like, you didn't have a vendetta against me.
No, I mean, it is what it is.
You didn't even necessarily make the decision. No. That's part of racing.
Mm-hmm. And we have a committee for a reason, because it takes some of the blame, I guess, off of me, and and I'm not the only one making the decision, and I evaluate the stuff with these guys, and I say, okay, well, let's look at this, and this, and we go, we determine what the penalties should be, and that's how I feel like that's what gives us. We hold each other. If we hold each other accountable, and everybody's held accountable, then I think that makes it better. It makes it, we end up with a better product at the end of the day, and the racing is better. But we have to hold each other accountable there.
That is a part of it. But I think that covers Watkins for us. We can get into before we get into NASCAR, since this is more pertinent to the people in the league, we can talk about fantasy for about 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Let me get it all pulled up here. We'll run through the standings of the day if NASCAR's website will agree with me. I know. Yeah, I've got it here. Okay. Which I know, if you guys watched the race today, there was a restart that looked an awful lot like a really bad Bluegrass restart at one point that I think it claimed like 10 cars. It was the most cars wrecked in a single incident in the history of Auto Club. I think it was like 10 or 12 cars that were, so someone either they didn't take off or they double pumped it. We've all been there, unfortunate, and it cleared me out. It basically cleaned my lineup out outside of 2 guys, and just real bad day overall. Which I know we had Ron Morris. He missed the first week, got in this week, and he finished 3rd this week, so he's going to be right in the mix of things. Damn it, let me pull up the league, not just my roster, if you have it up. Oh, there it is. League.
Yeah, I have the league up. Number 1 Amigo, Tony Iverson, Cody Anderson, Brandon Robertson, Dustin Ronstedel, myself in 6th, Tyler Evans in 7th, Brandon Holders 8th, Farmer 9th, Scoot Fruits 10th, Ass Blaster, Mr. Healy is 11th, Dookie Shoes is 12th, Ron Morris is 13th, Dirty Old Man, Brian Terry's 14th, and Tyler Gamma is 0 points, 15th.
Yeah, I think whoever the Tyler was, they
GT Hawkins. That's GT.
Right. Yep. So GT, if you're listening, make sure you get your picks in for next week. Just taking results from today, Tony Iverson had an absolute killer lineup, which it will not show it to me after the race, but I was looking at it during the race, and he had like 4 guys in the top 10, and his 5th guy was in 17th.
Yeah, so he had Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, and Ross Chastain. I mean, if you go, to look at his results, you go to live race results, and then on the right side, you click their name. And once you click their name, it'll show you their lineup for today.
Gotcha.
And then he got, he picked he got 2 of the bonus picks right. So I gave him an extra 20. I didn't do the damn bonus picks. I didn't change my lineup or anything. I completely forgot to. So I got lucky that I did as well as I did today, to be honest with you.
Yeah, which something I wanted to point out because I think I looked at Ron's earlier. Um, the guy that is in your garage, you do not get points for him unless you sub
Move
him
him up.
into your lineup, and you can do that all through the race up until
Last stage.
the end of the second stage. So, like I had Larson. He had engine problems early on. I took him out, and then I had other guys wreck. I ended up putting him back in. But you can move that stuff all the way up until the end of the second stage, just in case you guys didn't know.
I did end up subbing Larson out and putting Cindric in, but then Cindric ended up getting finished in 28th, and he was running well there for a minute. But I think, let's see, my picks for this week, I mean, I had 3 top 10s. I had Logano, Chastain, Elliott, Blaney, and Cindric. So I didn't do too bad. I just wish I would have went ahead and made some picks, because I think I could have got some of those picks right.
Which long ways to go. And another thing I will mention, because last year was the first time I ever did this. We only have I think 10 uses of each driver.
Yep.
I didn't know this last year. That resets when the playoffs start, and then you get 5 more uses out of each guy. So last year when I did it, like I was saving the good guys to use in the playoffs, and then the playoffs came around and everything reset. And I was like, well, I kind of screwed myself. So if you're listening, now you know you can hopefully set yourself up. It's long ways to go, and don't blow your Kyle Larsons and Chase Elliott's too early in the season and end up having to run Cody Ware out there a couple times.
Yeah, I'm going to have to switch it up next week. I know Larson's pretty good at Vegas, but I'm probably going to have to. I don't know if I should save him or run him at Vegas. I know I have not used Kyle yet, so I've still got all 10 uses on Kyle. I've used Ross twice also, so I'll probably have to evaluate coming up. See what we got when we get to when the picks open up this week.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know about you guys. It just kind of adds another dimension when I'm sitting there watching the race. I got some other stuff to root for and keep my attention if the race isn't going the way that I want it to.
Absolutely. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up on the Bluegrass stuff. And coming at you next will be the NASCAR segment.
All right, on to everyone's favorite segment. That's why we put it at the end. If you don't want to hear NASCAR, I've already talked about sponsors. It won't hurt my feelings if you leave, but we're going to talk about NASCAR, damn it. Just happened a couple hours ago, finished up. What, in my opinion, is probably the last time we're going to see NASCAR at Auto Club, which makes me pretty sad because I think it's an awesome racetrack that puts on awesome racing. But be that as it may, the Kyle Busch RCR era has officially begun as he got the dub. Looked great all day and dominant at the end. There were times when it looked like Ross Chastain was going to drive away. I know he led a ton of laps. He won. First time he's ever swept the stages in a NASCAR race, which was pretty surprising, honestly. He ended up finishing third. Chase Elliott came on strong late, kind of. I don't want to say came out of nowhere, but he wasn't a factor early on, which is due to maybe a lot of cars getting wrecked out and there are a few engine issues, that kind of deal. But the other story is Trackhouse was looking great. They finished 3-4. Harvick come in P5. Just overall, it was just Auto Club puts on such good racing. They're running 3 and 4 wide, guys running around on the apron. There are guys ripping the top, diamonding off. I mean, every different line you could think of, it is available at Auto Club, and they took full advantage of it today. I know, Jason, you watched it as well. What'd you think about what we got to watch today?
Well, I thought Ross was looking good, and then Kyle just come out of nowhere and blew past him. I mean, he literally just tracked his ass down and just got around him and then was gone. 2-second lead there towards the end. Kyle looked really good in that RCR8. I think that's going to be a good merger. I like the fact that those guys come out in the second race, which they almost won last week too. But, coming out strong. Clearly, Bush is a talent. He's, damn good driver. And I feel like he had something to prove to JGR. You're in what they consider a subpar team, right? Not one of the big teams. Comes out and grabs a win right off the bat in season 2023. So
not a lot of Toyotas having a great run. I think Denny was the highest Toyota P6. Truex entered up 11th. He had a pit stop where they didn't get a wheel on all the way, which I didn't expect to see, but that happened. He recovered decently, but there's some interesting names in the top 10, top 15. You got Keselowski finished 7th. It looks like whatever Kyle Busch is cooking up, it's rubbing off on Austin Dillon. He got himself a top 10, and he was fast at Daytona as well. Ricky Stenhouse followed up his Daytona 500 with a 12th. Corey LaJoie 14th, and he had moments at Daytona where he was looking good. So, different names, which again, a part of that was the restart after the second stage. Someone they either didn't go or they double pumped. I never really got a real clear look at like who caused everything, but like I said, it wiped out like half of my fantasy lineup. It killed Reddick, got killed, Priest got killed, Christopher Bell got killed. I think Allmendinger, he might have been in the earlier incident. Kyle Larson had engine issues early. He was looking good early on. Ryan Blaney got caught up in that, and he ended up finishing 26th. So it was kind of all over the place with that big incident, which I think is what allowed some of these outsiders to have better finishes than you might expect. But speaking of JGR, I think it probably feels pretty good for Kyle to go out and win. And then you look at Ty Gibbs is way down there in P16. It was just absolute non-factor all day. It was never fast, never just out there turning laps, which he is a rookie. I don't expect him to just walk in and figure it out, but kind of what I expect out of him, I guess. And I hate the kid anyway, so I wish he would have finished 78th, but
Yeah. And Reddick usually is pretty damn good at Auto Club, so it's unfortunate that what happened to him. But yeah, like you said, a lot of different names up in the top 10 today. Just a lot of guys that I thought would have, like Larson. Obviously, he's usually really good here. Up on the fence and stuff. Had a rough day, and Blaney had a rough day. Byron had a rough day. Looks like.
Yeah, it was just. I don't want to say weird. Just I think that one incident really shook things up because I was like you. I expected Larson to be fast. I expected Reddick to be fast. I expected Bell to be. Those are the dirt track guys that like to rip the top, and for different reasons, whether Larson had the engine issues and Bell was in the wreck, and it just that's NASCAR though. That's why they run 36 races. You can't determine after 2 races who's going to be good and who's going to be bad. But early on, that Trackhouse team's looking real capable of making some noise this season.
Absolutely. I think it would be a fun thing to do a money race at Auto Club. It's a big track. It's a big speedway. I think that a money race there would probably bring in a good crowd of people and probably put on a good show as well.
Yeah, which maybe we're biased, but I don't know anybody that doesn't like Auto Club just for the fact that you can run around the bottom, you can run around the apron if you want to, apparently, or you can rip the fence, and you can do all kinds of different things. There's something for everybody's driving style, and I think that makes it really interesting.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
Yeah, the drafting on the front stretch was crazy in the Cup race. And the blocking that Ross did.
Yeah.
Surprised he didn't get turned.
Yeah, which So I watched it with a farmer and a couple of my other buddies. But one thing that Dave picked out that was really interesting on the front stretch, the drafting was crazy. The side draft was crazy too. A guy would have a run and then he would get side drafted and just immediately kill his run for
which is
no
weird
apparent
because
reason.
which is
Yeah.
weird because these cars don't have side draft. There's no side force.
They're not supposed to, but
Yeah,
man,
not
I
supposed
saw
to.
there were several times where it happened to Logano a couple times where it looked like he was just gonna fly past whoever it was, and then they'd pull up next to him, and then that they'd be side by side entering into turn one. It was kind of strange. I didn't expect that to be that effective.
Here's something I should. Well, so they're not supposed to have side force and side draft, right? But we know that these manufacturers are always trying, or not teams are always trying to find crap or that they can do around this. And I've heard now what they'll do is they'll take these panels and they'll modify these panels a little bit and then put the wrap on them because and they figured a way out to beat the lasers and the cameras. They figured out a way that they can actually manipulate these cars and these panels that they're getting that are prefabbed. IKEA race cars is what John Kinder called them, but these teams are so clever that they've found a way to keep these panels within so many thousandths of their tolerances or whatever. But yet they're doing something. Clearly, they're manipulating something somewhere.
Every little bit counts,
and they're keeping it. And that's what somebody was talking about it the other day with me, and they were talking about how they were taking these panels and they were manipulating the panels. Just it may have been Lancaster, but I don't know. I want to say it was.
Yeah.
I don't want to get him in trouble. But it was somebody was talking about it. And I don't think it was Adam though. It was somebody else. They were talking about how these guys were one of their buddies had told them that also works at a NASCAR team, was talking about how they're taking the panels off and they're manipulating them and then they're putting the wrap on so you can't see what they've done, and the cameras and the lasers and all that crap because they got this system called like Hawkeye or Eagle Eye or some shit like that scans the car, and you can somehow still beat the system. You can beat the cameras and beat the lasers with this system that NASCAR uses. So it's pretty cool. A lot of engineering goes into it. Very smart guys are up there making decisions on this, and pretty cool to see.
Yep. Just got to be careful. You'll end up like Denny last season where JGR was running that piece of tape underneath their wraps. Whether or not that made any difference, I personally don't really think it did, but it's against the rules. And I bet JGR was doing that shit all season until they got caught at Pocono because they had to go to the extra R&D after the race. But like even in testing leading up to last season, talking about side force there, I remember Harvick in particular, since we're Lancasters, the Stuart Haas guy, they were running like some crazy skew in the car to where it's tracking where the rear end is not lined up with the front as to create side force, and NASCAR ended up outlawing it pretty quickly, so they didn't have that range and adjustment on the alignments to make that happen. But that goes back to these teams. Any gray area in the rule book or anywhere they think they can find an advantage, that these guys are as smart as it gets and eking out every little bit of performance that you can out of these things. Whether you're supposed to you're not supposed to touch any of these supplied components at all as far as modification, but if they can get away with it and get a couple wins every damn time,
and you can see
that's why they
that
make the big bucks.
That's that's exactly what Lancaster's job is to beat the rule book. That's his job. He took over Kinder's job, and that's what Kinder used to do, is try to find ways to beat the rule book. And you can tell he's got that mentality when it comes to Bluegrass, because he takes those gray areas and he tries his best to figure out a way to use those gray areas in Bluegrass as well. And I mean, I get it. That's what he does. He races for a living, and he's always trying to beat the rule book. So he'll take those gray areas and he'll try to make it work to his advantage. So dude's really smart, man.
Well, hey, by those rules, if there are any NASCAR teams listening, Travis Twitty probably take a job because that man will find the gray area. I promise you.
That's another one. Yep. Absolutely. All right.
Well, I think that's about it, man. We covered picks, we covered NASCAR, we covered Bluegrass, covered Mikey Neal calling his shot 2 times in a row.
Yep.
If you guys have nothing else,
I mean, there's not really much that I can think of. But thanks to the sponsors one more time. And pretty much call it a day. So big thanks to Kinder Performance Group, Huffman Design, Scott Frisk Designs, Butt Kicker, Red Rocket Buildings Barbecue, Elevated Outdoors, WJM. Appreciate you all coming on board with us again for this season and supporting the league. And I guess we'll see you guys next week. I'm gonna let Alex do the outro again. He did a phenomenal job the other day.
Well, I don't get to make fun of any sponsors this time since I've already talked about them. But last thing, I guess we'll thank our special guest, my Flex teammate, my honorary Your Name Here Motorsports Cup teammate. When he does race in Cup, he runs around with us. Super talented, super fast. I kind of I call him the Ross Chastain of the truck series because he's aggressive, he's clean, he'll use every inch you give him, and by God, come playoff time, you better watch out for him. So, Bobby, thanks for joining us for the Green 94, and that's it.
Till Monday.
Alex, it's Bobby. I'm Jason. See ya.